A very warm good evening to everyone and the season's greeting for the Diwali week this from FDPPI. Today at FDPPI Janvardhani webinar series, we'll be taking the topic data breach, digital forensic and data handling. And with us we have Santhosh Khadsare who would be enlightening us on this topic. Mr. Santhosh Khadsare is a digital forensic expert with 2 decades of experience and is heading a digital forensic lab at New Delhi, India. In addition to his bachelor's degree, he possesses additional qualifications such as CHFI, CEH, RHCSA, Advanced Cyber Forensic Course, which is CDAC, Cybercrime Investigator, IVTA, from Pittsburgh, USA. He has rich experience in field of information security, digital forensics, cyber audit, cyber laws, and incident response. He has been a speaker in various national and international conferences and has also authored various articles on information security and digital forensics in reputed publications. We welcome Santhosh Khadsare for today's session, and we thank you in advance, sir, for giving your precious time. So over to you, sir, for the session. Over to you.
So are you going to use any PowerPoint?
Yes, I'll use a PowerPoint.
Yeah, I've given you screen sharing so you can share.
I'll just.
Yeah, able to see the screen now.
Yes. Okay, should I start?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Firstly, as introduced, I'm actually a digital forensic investigator. So whatever talk I'll be delivering, it will be in context to digital forensics as such. This is yesterday's paper. If you see, it was 17th November that there were around 2 lakh CAT. That is the Common Admission Test 2019 database, which was leaked of the students online, in which other such as phone numbers, email IDs, addresses were being sold in the dark web. Then if you see a day back, that is 16th November, Citibank customer data was being sold on dark web. And you'll be surprised to the extent that even the internet banking access credentials were being sold up to cost of say $1,500. Of course, in Bitcoins, it was being sold and it was available for sale. If you go a little back again, it is again the November news that Big Basket also actually had a breach of say 2 crore users, say a database was on sale. So if you see the breaches which are taking place, it's on a daily basis. I just mentioned few breaches which are a week old or so. When we speak of a data breach, it is actually basically a security incident in which information is accessed without authorization. Right? It may be intentional or non-intentional, but it is actually exposure of the information, and it exposes confidential, sensitive, protected information to an unauthorized person. Now, these breaches often happen due to 2 things, that is either due to technology or due to user behavior. Both these are equally, I feel, equally responsible for the data breaches happening. And in turn, of course, they hurt the businesses and customers and even damage lives and reputations, which may take time to repair, or it might be, you can say, unrepairable also. When we speak of data breach, it's both physical and electronic breach. Physical breach is basically related to, you can say, corporate espionage, in which you can say documents or laptops, or you can say digital devices are physically, you can say, siphoned off. But in electronic breach, it is actually breach of access networks, deliberately targeting, you can say, the data or which is stored, processed, or transmitted. So these are 2 types of breaches. And now most of us know the causes. Causes first is, the main is the organized crime, which we just started off with, the CAT breach or with the Citibank breach, or any breach in which the organized criminals are involved in this. Next is regarding the advanced persistent threats, because this is actually state or state sponsored groups which actually carry out these breaches, and motivations are basically political or economic in nature. Next kind is the malicious intents insider threats. Now you'll be surprised that the breaches happening due to insider threats are much more than the other kind of breaches, and this is due to the intent of the insider to sabotage the systems or proprietary data or steal the IP. So this happens, and few of them also due to the carelessness and incompetence and negligence shown by, you can say, the user as such. Hacktivists also carry out breaches. Every one of us know this is also happening. They want to send a message to the government or to a, you can say, a firm to promote or negatively disclose the information. Now a new kind of, you can say, cause is the script kiddie. Nowadays there are a lot of people sitting in home in COVID times and trying to try the skills of, you can say, learning few or doing few courses like CEH or learning few online tools through videos and trying to carry out breach, and they cannot differentiate what actually they are getting into, because they feel that they are trying to address some disclosure programs, or they're trying to gain some money in terms of, you can say, the goodies which are kept by the organization. Now if you see, most of these methods are due to phishing, brute force attack, malware, ransomware. Now I'll not get into this because all of us are very well versed with it, but the latest kind of common breaches are happening due to ransomware. Now you will say, okay, how ransomware, because modus operandi of a ransomware is basically to encrypt the data. But nowadays, what is happening, most of the ransomwares are, before encryption, are, you can say, there's a pilferage of data or as a siphoning of data which is taking place and is exposed on the web later, right? So the breach is taking place and the modus operandi is a bit different nowadays. Now, coming to a few practices, they are common practices. Most of us in the, you can say, cybersecurity arena knows that keep patching, updating software, high-end encryption, upgrading devices, enforcing BYOD, bring your own device, which is a common phenomenon nowadays, enforcing strong credential, educating employees. These are few practices which needs to be done. But again, there's a, you can say, a shortage or you can say it's not happening. Now, if you see a few statistics, if you see, all of us know that in 2017, Equifax breach took place, in which around 145 million accounts, which had social security numbers, addresses, and everything, which was equally leaked. It also has come out in 2018 that most of the breaches have happened to social media data breaches, like you can say Facebook, or you can say other Instagram, or this kind of, you can say, social media sites. And they are, the breach which has taken place, they have been, you can say, the actor has been inside that particular organization for a very long number of, a long duration of time. And cybersecurity attacks, as every one of us knows, these are all statistics which are there for all us to read. Now, if you see the largest breaches, the largest breach till now, you can say documented, is the Yahoo breach, which had 3 billion compromised account, right? And in 2019, I'm mostly concentrating on the last year's and a year behind breach, that you can say American Financial Corporation also had 885 million records which are breach, which had, bank transactions, social security numbers. Facebook itself also had a breach in 2019 in which 550 million user records were you can say wide in the open. Now coming on this, on the view file, if you say, if we start documenting, breaches have become a common, it's a norm nowadays. Every company is just, if it's not breach, either they don't know or it's just going to happen to them. So this is how close a particular, you can say, company is when it comes to data breaches taking place. I'll not go into details. This is already in the view file. I can share my presentation also. So, but you can see so many breaches happening on a daily basis. Now speak about India, because let's speak in the Indian context. In October 2020, Big Basket, there are 20 million user accounts which were actually compromised, and it had all emails password hashes, pins, mobile numbers, addresses, means PIIs were there, IP addresses. Now, if you see GDPR of which is implemented in Europe, even IP addresses also form a very critical part of identification, right? Then if you see SBI breach also, which took place in 2019, 3 million text messages were divulged. And it happened due to unprotected server with failing to secure it with a password. I mean, it was not password protected. So this was the kind of breach which took place. Again, in India, I'm just speaking of 2019 April, there was Just Dial breach, which 10 crore users data was released, and Unacademy lessons. Unacademy also they faced a breach in May 2020, just late, and in which 22 million users, means usernames, email address were available in the dark web for sale. Now, if you see it, around 2000 plus breaches were recorded officially in 2019, right? If there's a popular, you can say video game Fortnite, which was hacked. Then there was a Facebook. Facebook admitted that since 2012 it has not properly secured the password, and it affected around 600 million users. So then also Microsoft breach also, which took place, data breach on it said that it is on the non-corporate email services, and it lasted from 1st January to 20th March 2019. So the duration of the actor being inside the, you can say, networks is also very high. And there have been, means it said that if a APT is there at least for 300 days, approximately 300 days, means nearly 8 to 9 months or more, more than that, means you cannot identify that something is happening or someone is actually pilfering your data. Then you come, this now breaches are happening due to various things, even to do technology like cloud breaches due to the cloud is not secured. Everything is in the cloud nowadays. Now the price paid is very high. There are direct and indirect expenses. If you see direct expenses, how a particular company or you can say entity establishment has to face it, they have to hire forensic expert. They have to, sometimes they have to provide support. They give free credit monitoring subscription just to pacify the subscriber. Then you have to do some settlements. Indirect cost is the in-house investigations which has to be, which are being carried out. Now, if you say in 2019, the finance and payment companies saw largest drop in share performance after a breach has occurred, right? Healthcare industry was the most affected industry with you can say around 6.5 million, you can say the data breach had taken place, means the users. Hospitals also, now healthcare hospitals have been targeted a lot in addition to the, you can say, government sector, which is taking. Now it also says that the global average cost of a data breach is around 3.9 million. This is all facts, and I'm quoting the sources also from where I have picked up these facts. The average cost of a stolen record is around $150 if one cost. But I'll tell you one very peculiar thing in Delhi, India. The average cost of stolen record is much less. If you want the credentials in Delhi or somewhere, means I don't know whether it was said in a very sarcastic way or something, but your cost of your data is hardly 30 paise in Indian markets, right? But of course, if you have access to bank records or something else, it will cost more. But normal, if there's a compromise or breach, 30 paise is the cost of the record being sold in the open market in India. Now, going ahead, let me tell you about the projections, various agencies and across the cybersecurity organizations, big fours, what they are saying. They're saying estimated the businesses will fall victim to ransomware attack. Ransomware is going to come in a very big way. And as I said, the modus operandi of ransomware is totally changed nowadays. There's first exfiltration of data, and then whether paid or not paid, it is being exposed or on the, you can say, dark web or sold on the dark web. And around, it is estimated in 2021, 6 trillion annually, it will be the cost. Attackers will be attacking other things like biometric, expose vulnerabilities in ID sensors. Then skimming is there, in short, what I want to say, the new technologies which are coming in, I was just mentioning before I started the talk, Industry 4.0 is coming. So those will be targeted because it will indirectly affect the supply lines, the clients, and everyone, right? And even now it will be the attacks which will happen, or a single attack vector will attack platform, across the platform it will attack both iPhone, Android, its Windows, and any of the OSs in the, you can say, the computer segment. Now, I said this, let me come to my core topic of forensics. When forensics is like, we start with the protect the internet never deletes, it also never forgets. So if anything has ever existed on the particular digital device, it can be retrieved, or it can be proved that it ever existed on that particular device. To start with, let me tell you, if you have created a document on your computer, laptop, mobile, wherever it is, I can at least pinpoint 20 to 25 places from where I can retrieve that document, even if you have deleted that document. So for example, I'll just give you a few places which will tinker your mind. For example, if you have deleted a document, it might be in recycle bin. If recycle bin you have deleted, you'll find it in temporary files, you'll find it in prefetch file, page files, HyperSys file systems. You'll find it while doing journaling, you'll find it in Slack. So I can at least tell you at least 20 plus places where you can retrieve or you can prove that the document existed. So this is what digital forensics is about. So, but let me tell you here also to start with, like digital forensics is a part of incident response. So it is referred as digital forensics and incident response. So even whenever the breach takes place, also digital forensics also plays a very important role because it's a part of incident response. So any incidents take place, it's reported. One important component is the forensic investigator who is a part of that particular team as such. And to go ahead, let me tell you one more thing. I address a lot of academia, industry, law enforcement agencies, and very few people know about this very niche field. I don't say that everyone should know about this field, but I feel that at least the person concerned or person who have a role to play in some should know this particular field. But whenever you ask anyone, forget even the academia or even the law enforcement agency, what is digital forensics? Firstly, they get they ask the question, what is difference between digital and cyber forensics, which I always say it's interchangeably used, but I prefer using digital forensics because it has a more wider, you can say, acceptance. But the digital forensics definition, if in the crowd of say 100, if only 5 people or less than them can answer, then you can just imagine the you can say the field, how the field means how new it is. So the basic answer to, if I say layman's answer, is the digital forensics is basically to prepare digital evidence to be produced in the court, the repeatability, the tenability in the court, right? So this is a basic layman definition of a digital forensic. Now, there you can say there are various processes involved. Like if you I'll start with identification. Like when you go for a crime scene incident, if something has happened, so identifying okay, what devices are affected, what all devices have evidentiary value, that is very important. Then comes the preservation, because most of the incidents happenings nowadays, especially due to IoT and other, you can say, technology development, such as even you can say SSD technology is coming in SCADA, you can say automobiles, yeah, then other IoT coming into fray. The preservation is very important because most of this is live data. Live data is there because the storage space within that particular IoT device is so small that it can be overwritten within no time. And not only that, even if traditional forensics, if you go for an incident response, the live forensics, when you're catching, when you go to a place where systems cannot be taken to the lab, like servers are running, you cannot pull it on, take it to the lab. Or even if there are systems which can be taken to the lab, there are some important data which is available, such as encryption keys, which is available in the RAM, which has to be taken or which has to be preserved. So this is very important when it comes to forensic. Seizure is very important, and let me tell you that seizure carried out by police or law enforcement agencies, they are not trained, so they are not able to carry out the proper seizure. I'll tell you a simple example now. You know, traditional seizure usually takes place if there was a, say, a weapon which has been nabbed. So usually it is means it's wrapped with a cloth and then a wax sealing is done, right? This is a normal seizure procedure. But since people are not aware of the technology and you can say the various things which are happening so fast, so you know even the mobiles are seized in the same way. They wrap it with the cloth and seal it with hot wax. You can imagine the circuitry inside that get damaged and the device is tampered during the seizure itself. So it is very critical with the changing technologies. You can say the procedures have to change. Next, coming on to packing and transportation, now you might say it's the most, you can say, the menial job, or most, you can say, mundane job, but it's the most neglected also. Most of the damage takes place during packaging and transportation. And I have observed it mostly, it's not packed properly or not transported, so usually the devices get damaged. When it comes to the lab, there's, you know, documentation tech analysis which takes place. After analysis, interpretation of that particular, you can say, it takes place if there's some CNC or if some malware analysis required. But the important part which is actually stand is the report preparation and presentation in the court of law, because here is where the skills of the digital forensics, skill set of the digital forensic, you can say, analyst who can depose as expert witness if permitted by the court comes into play. So this is very important. These are the various processes which are there. Now let me come. I hope I'm audible. Can someone just give me a feedback?
Yes, Santosh, absolutely fine.
Okay. So these all things which I discuss of processes which are important. Now, if you see the scientific definition of digital forensics, if it's highlighted as scientifically derived and proved methods, that means here repeatability comes into picture. Whenever we do digital forensic, we say that the same evidence should be extracted, required, acquired, whatever you say, from different tools also, or it should using the same process, right? And it is for the purpose of facilitating and furthering the reconstruction of events. Means you are indirectly, we are recreating the digital sequence of events in a digital domain, as it is done in other forensic science. So this is a definition of digital forensics as such. Now let me tell you, the digital forensic report is should not only be accurate but also should be credible and stand legal scrutiny. You know, here comes the other point, the I always say that digital forensic case is a techno-legal case. A person who's actually analyzing, or who's the forensic analyst in the lab, he should be technically sound and legally sound. That's why he should know the law of the land. Like if I have to produce, or I have to stand in front of the court and explain him, then my report should be well versed and in line with the, you can say, the IT Act, or it should be in such a way that it stands the legal scrutiny. So these are the various facts about reports when it comes. Digital evidence is very volatile, extremely fragile and easily tampered. This everyone of us knows, so I'll not stress much upon it. Let me give you a few case studies as such. I'll discuss one or two case studies out of this. Now, BitLocker encryption, one of the laptop had come for analysis. And when we did the analysis, there was no data in the, there was a data partition, which was the data partition which was there. But after seeing the file signature, it was found that the encryption is used, and the encryption uses BitLocker encryption. So to unlock that image, or we required the key for the BitLocker encryption. Now, how did we go about it? Now we know that if you are working on cases, and if you know technology, how the app install, how it installed itself, where the data is stored, where the key is stored. Now by default, the key of a BitLocker encryption gets stored in the system file in the C drive itself. So what we did is we cloned that. We made a clone out there. We bypassed the Windows password, and we were able to extract the key from that particular location, and then we use that key to actually unlock that BitLocker image. Now, why didn't we work on the original image? Because, you know, in forensics, we don't work on original image to maintain the integrity part. So this is how, you know, every case is different which comes to the lab. Even, you know, nowadays tools, commercial tools also don't support hidden mobile partitions. So mostly if you only rely on commercial tools, it happens that you miss the crux. Nowadays, everyone hides their data, e-commerce apps, or even some, their international elements, if they're using some messaging apps, into into the, you can say, the hidden partition, which is again not readable by the, you can say, the commercial tools. Let me tell you, when I spoke about technology, I mentioned about solid state devices. If you see solid state devices, which is in everybody nowadays, in all laptops, in mobiles, which this technology is being used, there's a concept called as over provisioning, in which the device has 20% more storage than that which is told to you, or which is mentioned on the device. If it's a 1 TB hard disk, actually the data means the capacity is 1.2 TB. Now, why it is done? It is done to cater for something called as, if there is some loss of data due to the, the technology is different. So there's and it's stored in, you can say, charges form. So sometimes that particular gets damaged. So to compensate for that, there's already a extra memory in that particular solid state device. So this also act as hidden partitions in most of the data can be stored there also. Now coming up to other WhatsApp Gold, WhatsApp FM, traditional WhatsApp, tools are there. But WhatsApp, I'm just giving an example. It can be any messaging platform. It can be Messenger. It can be Telegram. It can be Signal. So there are various other, you can say, versions of means you can say unauthentic apps which are there, which are being used and which are not supported, which create a very big hurdle for the digital forensic investigator. Now, this process I've already mentioned. I'll not get into this. I'll not make it a technical session, so I'll go ahead. But I would like to tell you one thing, that there, digital forensics is a branch of forensic science, is a discipline of forensic science. Within digital forensics, there are various other branches which are there. You have host forensics, storage media forensics, memory, cloud, automotive, satellite, drones, mobile, SCADA, IoT. IoT is coming into place, network, GPS. So the labs and even the skill set is lacking. For after my 20 years or plus of, you can say, my I've been in this field, I still have not mastered more than 2 to 3 of these. Like I work on, you can say, host forensics or cloud or network or to mobiles and drones. But the new other forensic branches are coming, like a satellite, automotive, SCADA, IoT. Although I have worked, but not that much, means I don't have that skill set. So the branch, and this is going to increase. Let me tell you that. So digital forensic branches and skill set is a shortcoming and which has to be addressed in the near future. These are the various skill set required: knowledge of forensic tool, analytical skills, technical aptitude, cyber laws is very important, communication skills, and of course, cyber security, networking, passion, and patience. Some cardinal rules which we use: never mishandle evidence, never work on original evidence, use licensed forensic tools, we document every process. Integrity is the utmost importance. That is the biggest, you can say, challenge of explaining to the court when we go to the court of law. But there are few documentations which have to be mentioned in forensic chain of custody form. Very, very important. It's only, or the most important legal document the court accepts and which is required. Then we also require the brief of case so that we minimize and reduce the time of investigation. Then we have authority letter. Sorry. Now, readiness gap: digital data is increasing, but resources are decreasing. You see, there's volatility, the data evaporates, velocity with the speed of the internet and with the varieties. You have text messages, you have videos, audios, all kinds of, variety is increasing. Multimedia messages, volume, vaulting, encryption and all, it's also becoming a big issue. Now, the problem faced by the digital forensics, vertical is the data, plenty of data. So we have 2 problems to handle. One is the problem of plenty and problem of capacity. When I say problem of plenty, let me tell you, in a house, first there was 1 mobile. Now you have an access point and 10 different gadgets in every house. So the problem of plenty and, digitization, Skill India, Digital India, gadgets are increasing, devices are increasing. And then that's the next problem. Because problem of plenty, it is the processing which is being actually affected. Now, problem of capacity means, first we had storage media of, say, you can say 100 MB or something. I remember my first computer was 120 MB of main memory it had. Right. But now you have 1 TB of, a pen drive is available. The problem of capacity, which increases the reviewing time. So we have these two issues which digital forensic community is facing. And second, okay, I'll come to that later. Seizure I've already spoken, so I'll not spend much time on this due to paucity of time. Seizure is an issue. Chain of custody actually is the most important legal document. Now we use different commercial tools for imaging and cloning. This is one of the tools which we use, because now the speed of the tools also is increasing. Now we have tools which give you 30 GB per minute kind of processing speed. Depending again, it all depends on a lot of things, but this is what the tools support. We have different tools as a write blockers also which are being used. Now these are different tools. Those who are into forensics will understand. Sorry for the typo error. There's a spelling mistake on the heading, but okay. Now there are different types of analysis. I told you different branches. Every branch has different techniques of going about it. Now for storage media, we do all these kinds of analysis which is there. We do static analysis, dynamic analysis, wherever the malware or CNC is supposed to be done. So it's plethora. Means I've just mentioned a few like this. At least there'll be 15, 20 types of different types of static analysis and different types of dynamic analysis which can be done. And this I'm only speaking of storage media. If I go to mobile, other problems which we face is encryption, steganography, wiping, degaussing, overwriting, obfuscation, and many other things. Means, let me tell you, I accept very candidly that the cases which come to my lab, they are more failures than successes. Like what I mean to say here is if I have 10 mobiles which are coming to lab, out of 6 I'll be unsuccessful due to some kind of, you can say, hurdle such as encryption, bypassing log, or you can say type of steganography used. So there are failures more than successes. But yes, technology is catching up, but there is an issue. Now, simple, I spoke of solid state device, normal hard disk had, read, write, platter had, you could do something, but in solid state devices, you have NAND nor logic. Controller itself is on the, you can say on the storage media. So even if the CPU fails, the controller still is active and can just pass the commands and get things activated. If a delete command is actually trim command is in this case is passed, it will get executed even if the CPU, even if you stop that command, because the controller itself is on the CPU. There are many other ways this can be handled, but we'll not get into this. I spoke about IoT. IoT is a big issue in forensics. Then SCADA is big issue in forensics, because then PLCs, all the PLC traffic lights, for example, use PLCs. The buffer is very limited, right? So you can imagine, I spoke about overwriting, the speed in which forensics or something forensic has to be carried out. So a new concept has come up, which we promulgate in this is forensic readiness. Everyone should be ready for forensics. So that's why the logging system should be enabled, SIEM should be in place, syslog server should be readily available, and so on and so forth. Cloud forensics, the evidences are everywhere with the user, on the network, with the server. So it is of paramount importance. Coming on to mobile, which is a very interesting field. Now most of the challenges faced in mobile is physical tampering, not supporting, integrity cannot be maintained in many of the cases. Exhibit data in social media, especially when you pass multimedia or video, audio file, then it is data is stripped out of it. Then location of evidence in the cloud because of the, you can say, the jurisdiction as such. But let me tell you one thing, it's mobile forensics in one slide is this. See, we do different types of extraction. One is the logical extraction, which the existing files are extracted. We have the file system extraction, in which you get hidden files, system files, and in physical extraction, we get hidden and deleted data. We aim for the physical extraction, but logical extraction also, it depends on the support to that particular mobile. Now, one thing which, okay. No, here I want to tell you, in mobiles, there are advanced technologies also which are there, but in India, it is still, these technologies have to come in a big way. They have not yet come fully. JTAG, chip off, ISP, that is, in system programming, removing the chip and carrying out raw data forensic analysis, which is in the fray. Now, as I said, the problem is, problem can be addressed due to parallel processing, centralized and platforms for forensics, AI, ML using here. But the major problem is skilled manpower with the law enforcement agencies, forensic labs, with the judiciary. Commercial tools are costly, training is costly. It's very costly here. Then cyber laws and GDPR. Here I'll pause and like to say, see, forensics field is also going to be affected by this GDPR as such. Because, as a forensic investigator, I have access to everything of what is on the device. It may be personal in nature. If someone has just done, say, there's some pilferage of data and a particular kind of data. So should the forensic investigator be seeing all the other personal content, personal videos, personal files, mails? So that there is a question mark. So whenever GDPR comes into play, this is going to play a very important role. So we within the forensic community also are discussing on this, how this can be addressed. So the tools which are being manufactured, so suppose I'm looking only for PDF files. So I should be only, if there's a PDF document, so I should only be able to search for only PDF documents and nothing else within that. So my restrictions, whether it is possible and how fast or it is going to come, it's a question. But yes, it is going to affect the forensic community in a big way, right? Because even if I select for say PDF, but within that PDF, which is the kind of PDF I would look to? There may be something, maybe bank transactions which are there, which are in that particular thing. So this issue has to be addressed by the community and by the government while the policy or the law is being made. Technologies are changing, SSD, IoT, SCADA, I've already mentioned this, anti-forensic techniques. Backlogs is a big issue. Globally, backlogs ranges from 6 to 8 months. Means every lab has a pendency of 6 to 8 months. If you hand over the case to the lab, at minimum, it will take 6 to 8 months to actually start the case. I'm not saying finish the case, I'm saying start the case. So if it is, at least a year goes on. I just interact with few, latest input yesterday, I interacted one of the FSL, they said they have backlog of 4,000 cases, forensic cases. Every case has a forensic element in it. You can just imagine, but let me clarify here also, at least in my lab, I keep backlog up to 6 months, not beyond that. But again, it has to be supported by skilled manpower, tools, you can say, and a lot of things are there. Preservation of evidence is also an issue. Forensic report is a very important part of us. So it has to be actually child initiated, should be from a notified lab, limited cognitive printout. It has to have a classification, should have a legal backing in terms of 65B certificate. Then expert witness, I would like to just share I go as expert witness, and he has to be a qualified. It's only when the court allows, then only you can qualify as depose as an expert witness. Otherwise, you are not an expert witness, right? One last thing which every one of us always keeps in mind, our cyber forensic report is a statement of fact. We cannot put man behind the machine. So it only assesses the investigation of the investigating officer, and your report may or may not be taken into cognizance, consideration by the court, depending on how you do. So what I have done is I've tried to squeeze it up, and I've already taken 42 minutes precisely. So I will be open to questions. I've tried to keep it short and sweet, and I've been a bit fast. I know that, pardon me for that. But I've tried to cover data breach and this. But yes, we do address the data breaches, and when data breaches are there, it is most important required to find out how the breach took place, which are the devices which were infected, due to which the breach took place, and what all has not yet come into the fray or into the open, into dark web or something. That is the matter of investigation which we also do if a breach takes place and when it is reported. So I'll just be open to questions. I've tried, because it's a very enlightened group, so I didn't go into minute things. I've just kept it as simple as I could. Yes.
Santhosh, Ramesh here, first of all, would like to really compliment the way you had ran through the session. Yeah, quite informative and excellent. Thank you very much. Now, I have two questions just to understand more from your perspective. One, you said that digital forensic consists of different, like you talked about cloud, memory, IoT, and so on. And you said with the kind of experience what you have, you are familiar only on 2, 3. I understand. But is that the technology is going to change from memory to cloud to IoT, etc., when we do this kind of investigation?
Yes, it is already changing. If you say now I'm working on a concept, means I'm trying to learn more about SSD. Most of my talks on future technology like solid state devices and industry 4.0. If you see everything is when IoT or industrial IoT comes into picture, you know, this is forensics has to change. There has to be a 360-degree change in it, you know, because as I said, the forensics has to be done on the spot within a limited time, right? So that is of course going to change in a very big way. And you know, traditional forensics was about computers. Then it comes to mobile. It comes to mobile devices, right? Then it came to cloud network. Now it is more of a devices. At my lab, I get drones. Drone forensics is on. You get we have done incidents of SCADA, right?
Yeah.
And what we have observed when we go to that particular location, the evidence is already overwritten because of you can say the due to the short memory, or you can say due to the old systems which are being used in SCADA as of now, right? So that forensics has to change. It has to drift, keeping the old things also intact. That's why I say the new people coming into this field have to address few of the branches of the forensic discipline which is there, and everyone has to specialize. A single person cannot specialize in all the branches.
Great. Thank you. One more question before this ransomware you talked about. Okay, I understood at least twice or thrice you mentioned it. It's very important, very important. Now, ransomware as a service has come up, right? As you and me know.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Now, what are the challenges from the digital forensic perspective for you?
Okay, ransomware from digital forensic perspective, you know, when a ransomware attack takes place, initially the ransomware was infecting only a particular kind of files or only system files. Initially, when the ransomware came, you know, it was only encrypting the system files of user used to not, but he used to think that his whole data is encrypted. But we as forensic investigator, we found ways of bypassing and directly reaching the data and giving the data back. But nowadays, you know, what is happening is ransomware, you know, if the keys, usually the keys were stored on the system itself. Then the operandi changes, the keys were stored outside. Now the new operandi of ransomware is actually because they know let me tell you, even if you pay ransomware, there's no surety that you'll get your data back.
Absolutely.
And so what the ransomware people understood, people, cybersecurity professional, what they started doing is they started going to backups. So once the backups came into picture, people were not paying ransom or are not paying ransom for that matter. So what they have done, the new modus operandi, they are pilfering the data, taking the ransom. If it's paid, still they are releasing it in the dark web. Even if it's not paid, still they are releasing in the dark web, because then it becomes an issue, because backups now play no role. Even if they restore the backup, the data is already exposed. The breach has already taken place. So ransomware is a big way. And the payment methodology, as everyone knows, from forensic point of view, like we look into if we get hold of system, the cryptocurrencies, how you can say blockchain forensic, if we are able to trace out where the transaction, or which wallet the transaction has been done, right? So these things, what type of ransomware is there? There are few very good global organizations like Pay No Ransom. There's a good website also in that. They have till now whatever ransomware and the decryption key which are available, they try to give it. But you know, they are also evolving. Ransomware is also evolving, but there are few solutions which are coming back. From forensics, we try to retrieve the data if possible, find the keys, and if the system is on, right? If the system is on and only files are getting encrypted, then we can actually, from the memory, we can find the key, if it's possible. So but let me tell you very candidly that the failures are more than successes. Again, I should not be saying this, but it is a fact of life which everyone has to accept.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Hi, Santhosh. We have.
Raman has some questions.
Yes, sir. There are a few questions in the chat box. I'll just read out one of them. Okay, this is from Baburaj. On BitLocker example, do you use any tool to clone?
Cloning can be done by any tool. You can do. You have Falcon. Any imager is also a cloner. You know, it's a source destination. You have to just select. So you have a lot of tools which are there. So like I showed in I showed a Falcon which is there. There are many other tools which are there, which can be any cloning and imaging are the two processes which can be done by any imager, which is there.
Sir, one question I had, Santhosh sir, is like if organization use the BitLocker as a data at rest encryption, and if the laptop is stolen, can the person get the data even if it is BitLocked, right? If he has a tool.
See, BitLocker, I told you that case, every case is different. Usually when it's stored, no, usually when I don't use it, but what I used to do, I used to tell people, don't store the key. There's an option of storing the key on a external storage media in the pen drives and all. So usually people, when they enable the BitLocker, the key, they store it somewhere else so that key copy is not available. So that's one way. BitLocker, let me tell you, it's not easy to crack it or this. Even for the matter, TrueCrypt and all, there are many cases even in European countries where they are not able to bypass the TrueCrypt encryption or VeraCrypt encryption as such, which is there. So, but I don't say they cannot, because their agencies must be having access to much more than what. But as of now, I would just recommend that only regarding BitLocker. We found a solution. That's why I said.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, Santhosh sir, there's one more question. What is the impact of an overall incident management when forensic analysis lags back by 6 to 8 months? So,
okay. I got the question. See, there's a difference when I said incident response and forensic. That's why I made two different categoric points. One is forensics is a part of incident response. When an incident response is there, forensic is on the spot. It is not a lagging of 6 to 8 months. When the law enforcement agency does some seizure and sends it to lab, then the lag take place. But there also priority is given. If it's a high priority case of national, you can say importance, then we do it. Then they're 24/7 working on that. We give it the highest priority. For example, I'll say the latest incidents which happened and which you read in the media, they have happened not even 3 months back, and we are already given the reports and the FIRs are in the courts already. So it is a different thing. That is with the law enforcement agency cases, and when it is incident response, incident has to be responded immediately. Forensics takes place immediate in that case.
okay. There's a question from Kamil Acharya. Are you training the police forces how to collect the evidences, especially the mobiles and the laptops?
Yes. We are already training the polices. We conduct regular trainings from certain, and we are doing it. It's happening. Someone can contact me. I can say that. Any other question?
Yes, just one last question. As digital forensic investigator, what kind of protection you have and how not to get influenced by data you have access to?
Pardon, as a digital forensic, what kind of protection you have?
Investigator,
Okay.
what kind of protection you have and how not to get influenced by the data you have access to? So Ramesh has this question.
This is basically ethics.
Ethics.
Ethics of profession. So integrity is confidentiality are the main ingredients of digital forensics. When I sit there, it's my responsible because of my irresponsible behavior, someone will be penalized or not penalized. So that's where it comes into play, and integrity is of not only of the device and evidence, but also of the individual. That's why when the lab gets notified, there's a thorough cross-check of all individual, the processes, policies, and how confidentiality is maintained. Like you don't have even a CCTV camera in the forensic lab. You're not supposed to have. So these all things are there, which is there.
Santosh, I have one question.
Yes, sir, please.
The volume and the speed, dynamic and the volume of data, once we go for a seizure or anything like that, is becoming simply huge. Earlier, in the beginning of the days, we were able to concentrate because the devices were less, saving space, storing spaces were less. Now anything, anywhere can be stored. In such a scenario, are we looking into a forensic tool which will work using some AI tool or something like that and try to locate what we want? Is there any digital mechanism? Because it is impossible by a human being to look into the entire data. Instead of manually doing things, is there anything which can do automated way? Is there any such possibilities?
Yes,
Are there for such a invention?
it's being done. It's being done. Let me tell you 2-3 measures which are being done at present and what are the futuristic steps to that. Presently, the tools the investigator carries at the incident scene is capable of identifying if he wants to, if he has a mobile and he only wants to see the WhatsApp chat, he can only do that. The tool will support it. The second mechanism is if a person is not trained who's carrying that device to the incident location, it is even centrally pulled, means remotely it can be accessed. But yeah, the integrity issue by the courts will come into picture that can be addressed in a different way. Third issue at present, how it is being addressed is when some law enforcement agency gives me say 100 devices at one go, it identifies these are my 5 priority devices. So please do it on priority 5 and rest can just continue at your own pace. So although it's a very rudimentary way of telling ki there's, but this is what has happened. But yes, there are tools. That's why I said ki forensics has to evolve. It has to be more centralized, and at remote locations, the data has to be pulled. There are many, things are happening. Commercial tools are available, but now this has to be addressed policy-wise also, because if I remotely take the evidence, someone might say it has tampered during that transit, so how do I address that issue? So that also have to be addressed, but it is possible and it is being done in that way, and specific can be done. But when I said it is still not addressing GDPR, what I meant to say, if I'm able to extract, say, the text messages or the documents, am I supposed to see all the documents? It might have back. So there where I'm addressing, the more fine tuning I'm trying to get into. So commercial tools are addressing it, but not in a total way.
I think in the days to come, manpower cannot do at all. Machine itself has to do that. That's the only way out, I feel.
No, I
In the
disagree
days to
with
come.
that. I gave you an example of the hidden partitions. Tools don't address few issues. Over provisioning, I gave you an example. Tools do not go into that area. For example, if you don't have a if a malicious app is installed, app may be a vault, secret vault. The tool will not recognize it, or it will recognize only as an app, but it will have so much of data in it. So human intervention will never go, although ML will play a very big role because of the problem of plenty and problem of capacity, which has to be addressed.
Wonderful.
Santoshji,
Yes.
Thanks. Aditya, you are on mute. We are not able to hear you. Not yet audible. Any other questions that we have, or
I think,
we are done, right? Most of
yes.
done. Aditya, we'll request Aditya to give vote of thanks, but Aditya, you're not audible to us. Can you check? Yeah, now.
Yeah, no, I think Adapu can come.
Aditya, no, you're not audible yet.
sir, are you able to hear me?
Now you're audible. You're
Yeah,
audible.
sir. You are always audible, sir. You are in my heart. Come on, Adapu.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Santoshji, before closing this...
Aditya, can you be a bit loud? We are not able to hear you.
Yeah.
Santoshji, before closing this session, I have a small query.
Your query is not heard, sir, properly heard. There is a volume very less.
1 minute, sir.
Yeah, now fine.
Yeah. Now we got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's audible.
Now, you are mentioning that with the onset of the GDPR and the personal data protection and such acts, the forensic investigator has a challenge. How the particular law going to affect your profession or the service? Right now, if I see normal investigation police, when they come to a site, either home or a incident site, they do everything. They get access to everything. Required and unrequired things also they have. So under what provision they have the access to everything, and what is going to prevent a forensic investigator not to have the access? What were you looking in the environment?
See, when there's a suspect, it can be anything digital in nature, maybe evidentiary value. So they are very well in their particular, you can say, they can go get access to or get hold of things. But yes, when it comes to, you can say, as a forensic investigator, as I said, the forensic investigator has access to everything. Means, when the device is coming to his particular, he is in his hand. So I don't know how it will be addressed, or whether it will be an exception which will be given. Because, as I said, when a forensic court accepts someone as an expert witness, it's not by hearsay or by his experience, what he has done, how much, like when I go, I have to tell them how many cases I've done, 200 cases, how many devices, 10,000 devices. And after that also few courts have refused to accept in one of the occasions as an expert witness also. So that GDPR is going to come into play. I'm actually eagerly waiting how is it going to address. So as a forensic investigator, I myself am trying to raise the issue, please address this, right? So, but that's why I'll tell you one thing. It's a very interesting question. I did few investigation when there were few, I was asked a few questions by the IO, but I saw something more glaring than the questions asked. So I raised that flag, this is very important. You have not asked this question. It is not in my mandate, but I raised it. And somehow it averted an attack which was supposed to take place. So it was taken in good sense. But in some cases, courts asked me, when this was not asked to you, why did you answer this question? Right? Why have you given this additional information? So this is a very thin line, means it has to be addressed, and by all of us. I am the end user. I'm trying to raise it to a community. How do we address this?
Okay, thank you. Ramika, go ahead.
Yes, Adapu, you can go ahead with vote of thanks. Thank you.
No, one second. Say, as a witness, if a person is accepted as an expert witness, then he can provide opinion, okay? Whereas if he is only a eyewitness kind of a thing, for example, under section 65B and other things, whatever evidence is produced, it is more like a eyewitness, then that person cannot give any opinion, okay? Now, to be an expert, as Santhosh said, it is the court's prerogative, okay? Of course, he said he has not been accepted in one court, okay? But it's not always like that, because there is no, you can say, degree which can make a person an expert, okay? One has to make and at least the judge has to take a view on the expertise as demonstrated experience over a period of time. Okay, in fact, in the Suhaskati case, 2004, I was an expert witness. I didn't have any degree in forensics or something like that. In 2004, perhaps the expertise available elsewhere was also not very high. But now, of course, there are people who have access to equipments and practical experience, like Santhosh and TCS man, no? That is
Shastri, Krishna Shastri.
Krishna Shastri kind of people. They have extensive practical experience, which is not easy in forensics. Forensics, you should have a case, you should be able to work on the case using the tools, then only you will gain the experience. Otherwise, we will only have theoretical experience. So it is tough for the courts also to decide who is an expert witness or not. But another thing he pointed out was also correct. As a witness, sometimes you are not allowed to say what you want to say in terms of truth, okay? Because that is the I mean, tactic which if particularly if it is in a cross-examination. If it is a direct witness, at least you can say more. If it is a cross-examination, the other lawyer would not like you to say what he does not want you to say. So if you are an expert witness, perhaps it is possible that you may slightly extend your opinion, but rest of the time it is very difficult. Even today, sometimes when I go for section 65B evidence, people ask, what is your qualification? Okay, so every time we have to say that computer is transistors and transistors is physics, and I am a very old postgraduate in physics. So, okay, so it is a tough call. But being a forensic person is an individual passion. Everybody cannot become an expert. and it requires a lot of effort and time. I'm very happy that Santhosh was able to share a lot of his thoughts. Of course, if we had gone into individual cases, perhaps a lot more could have come. But anyway, it was a good introduction for people to understand. Even in data breach situation, every company has to have an internal forensic investigation before we actually go to a let's say data protection authority, even to determine whether there is a data breach or not. And if the breach has been in a, of say encrypted data or non-encrypted data, I need a certificate from an expert. Then only I will know exactly how to report it to the data protection authority. So there is a need for forensic expertise in all companies, like internal auditors, we need internal forensic people. Then of course, the police, then the cyber insurance people. See, cyber insurance people also will be requiring forensic assistance because they have to dispute the claim. So there is a lot of, expertise required. I don't know whether we have enough resources to develop those skills. Of course, Gujarat Forensic College is there. But most of these people do forensic in terms of non-computer this thing. Computer forensic is basically self-acquired skill, I think. Santhosh may correct me if it is there. Because most of the others have this medical forensics and other things where the subject has developed a lot. Computer forensics has not developed that much, particularly mobile forensics. What you do today, tomorrow, it is not of use. And of course, he was talking about the solid state devices. That is a separate challenge in itself. Okay. I think that requires a separate discussion. Forensics of solid state devices, how it can be done, whether it is similar to the hard disks. It is not similar. So there is a lot of things which we need to look at because today everybody wants to go for Apple. Windows is no longer there, and computers are becoming thin. Solid state, this thing is disks are coming. So forensics of solid state devices is one aspect. Then video forensics, that is enhancing the video images from CCTV footage and gathering the forensic information about whether it is morphed or not. Okay, so that those are some of the challenges which I think has not yet been solved. So we send our video images to London to actually get a view on whether there is morphing or not. Okay, so and for this steganographic requirements also. So there are many such areas of forensics. We are just touching the peripherals like disk forensics and network forensics, and beyond that there is so much. Voice forensics is going to be another area, voice biometrics. So I'm sure people like Santhosh have got a lot of opportunities to expand in this field of knowledge. In fact, Santhosh, one point I wanted to make. So we always discuss about this personal data, non-personal data, whether personal data is a critical personal data. I have been telling sometimes that voice is such a digital data which is having a forensic value. So voice itself is a biometric, and it has got an identity feature there. And in fact, ideally, it should be considered as critical infrastructure. I mean, this thing, because convictions take place in crime situations based on voice biometrics. So forensics of voice, I don't know whether the sufficient development has taken place in India. If you have got any thoughts on that, you can share. Otherwise, we will keep it for some time in future. This solid state forensics, voice forensics are individual topics which can be discussed for definitely more than 1 hour. Particularly if the audience is interested. Of course, if the audience is not interested, then perhaps it becomes too advanced. But if the audience are interested, those are areas we would like to discuss. Yes, Santhosh. Any last words?
you rightly said. So it's it becomes too technical. Firstly, like voice also, you have to. It all depends on voice samples because there's a lot of mapping, matching, and video forensic also. I did a few cases. You rightly said. So there are a lot of issues. So their field in itself, there's a lot of research is being done. But yes, we as a country have to catch up. It's a long way.
Thank you. And deep fake. Sometime we'll come for deep fake analysis.
I intentionally did not mention it because I know you would catch it. So I did not mention that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So please go ahead with the vote of thanks.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today we have an enlightening session with Mr. Santhosh. It's a very interesting to know some unheard aspects so far, at least in my IT experience. Particularly this solid state devices storage, I was not knowing, even though I was in the computer field for so long. This is a new knowledge opening for me. Mr. Santhosh given a complete overview of the forensics field by starting with the recent data breaches in global arena as well as in India, and various methods, what is the causes for the breaches happening in the industry, and the best practices to prevent. Is given a very good glimpse how to understand that best practices. And in case of breaches, what is the cost going to be? That is a very alarming revelation. To know what is the cost going to incur by any organization or individual in case of data breaches. Further, he has enlightened us on the various steps of the digital forensics science as a subject that has given a 8 aspects of the forensic science. Then how to prepare a report and the validity of the report, how to present in the court of law as evidences, as very lucidly explained. And he has taken some case studies to understand the audience how a forensics will work. And statistical and dynamic analysis of the data in the area of forensics. And particularly the final point is, even forensic science, even though it is not widely known and well matured, it has its own challenges in the current scenario and emerging technologies. That is a great opportunity for the people to explore and become a knowledge-oriented subject. And you also touch upon the lack of skill set in the particular area in the current times with the data explosion. And finally, you could able to clarify all the queries came from our audience. And on behalf of FDPP and on my own behalf, I express sincere thanks to Mr. Santhosh for his time and effort in doing this presentation. And we close this session. And thanks once again, Mr. Santhosh, and we keep in touch with you for future relationships. Thank you very much.